My name is Dr. Michael Brown, and this is 3 Words, a bite-sized podcast about the simple and yet very strategic choices that all of us can make in order to be fully alive. Today in the studio, I have with me my very best friend, Bo Johnson, Dr. Bo Johnson, that is, and we're talking about a book that we've written together as a part of the Essential Conversation series entitled Be Fully Present. We're going to dive into some of the content. We're going to have a very honest and transparent conversation about how we struggle with these very ideas. Listen in. Dr. Bo Johnson traveling all the way from Salt Lake City, Utah to Ohio to be in the 3 Words podcast studio. My friend, my very best friend, Dr. Bo Johnson, we did a thing.
We did do a thing.
We wrote a book together, and we're going to talk more about that in just a few minutes around 3 very unique words. But first, for those who maybe haven't seen one of your episodes with me before, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Let's see. I am struggling to practice the 3 words that we're going to talk about today in my day-to-day life. I get to work for Patrick Lencioni at the Table Group, where we help transform the world of work. And I get to be friends with great people like you all around the country, learning how to be connected and present with people that we're not physically present with.
So our 3 words for today's conversation are
be fully present,
which is unique here in 3 words because it is the second time we've actually hosted an episode on these same 3 words. Back in the day, several years ago, I had this conversation with my dear friend, Amy Seifert. But today I'm having the conversation years later again with you because we wrote a book together entitled Be Fully Present. So I'm so excited to have this conversation with you. We'll talk more about the book in the moments to come, but why is this particular idea so important to you?
We were just chatting before we hit record about why did we pick this topic as the first book that we wrote together? And my memory is that we were processing this thing about writing. And I was also processing the next decade of my life. And what do I want my life to be known by? And I said, I want if this was a house, I want the ceiling of the house to be joy. That is the thing that I want to be the highest thing that I am chasing and pursuing. And the first pillar of that house is to be fully present. And you said, that's the first book. And I think it resonated with me for a similar reason that if you've ever heard the old adage, if you teach from your weakness, you will never run out of material. I wanted to get to engage in this content with you because being fully present is something I wrestle with so regularly. I am the sort of person who goes on vacation and thinks about my next vacation. I'm in a meeting and thinking about the next meeting. I'm sitting in church and thinking about what we're going to do after church. It is so hard for me to live in the moment, but it is in the moment that life happens. It is. I am so sad that I have been on vacation and been missing the moments with my children because I'm thinking about what's next. And that I've been face to face with humans and then occasionally doing the thing we all hate, that looking over their shoulder at who else I could be talking to. And I want to be more and more a person who is fully present with every person I encounter. So that's why the book, that's why the topic today matters to me so much.
Well, and the reality is, my friend, that we only have here and now. Like even as we sit in the studio, this is the only time that we have. I mean, we don't want to live in the past. We don't want to live in the future. We have now. And I've said this, and I have no data to prove this. It's just my observation as I spend time looking in the mirror, as you said, in full transparency, as well as spending time with so many people around the globe, is that most of the time we're spending somewhere other than here and now.
Yep.
We're either wandering backwards or worrying forward, and we're not fully present. And I tend to think that being fully present is not just the way to live, but it's actually the cure for dealing with frustration, for worry, anxiety, control, just to be right here and now. It just takes so much pressure off our lives and the things that we struggle with if we could just be right here and now. So I think as we had this conversation in our book, in the Be Fully Present, the first of our Essential Conversations series of books, it probably will be one of the most important conversations we had, not only today, but in writing. Hey guys, real quick, if you're enjoying this conversation that I'm having with Bo, you can order our book, Be Fully Present, on Amazon. And you can find the links as well in the show notes below. Now back to the episode.
So, and it's not a new idea. After writing the book, I then read in the journals of Marcus Aurelius, the emperor, that he wrestles with this same thing. And here we are today, and we think it's a social media thing or we think it's a phone thing. It's just a human thing that's been present forever. So why is it so hard to be fully present?
Well, I know for me, it's because I am wondering or worrying. It's what I just said earlier, in the sense that I'm thinking backwards. Should I have said that? Or what did that mean? Or could I have done that differently? And we could call it regret. We could call it reflection. But typically what it is being somewhere other than now. Or I'm worrying, which is simply borrowing sorrow from tomorrow, as we talk about all the time, and dragging it into today. Most of the problems in our life right now, Bo, are imaginary. They're all up in our head, because we're not fully present. If we're fully present, it's hard to be up in your head and to be imagining all these scenarios, looking back or looking forward. I think it's so hard because, we want to be somewhere other than now. We tend to think that I have to be here.
Yes.
And you talk about this in the book, and your section of the book as we go back and forth. But no, I don't have to be here. I chose to be here. So why not be in the place where I chose?
Yeah, I think if I'm honest, part of the reason it's hard to be fully present is the present is mediocre. Is whatever sandwich I'm having, it's not that fantastic. The person I'm with is not that interesting. My back aches, my heart aches, my calendar's imperfect. This meeting is boring. And so it's easier to imagine an imaginary future than it is to actually be engaged in the imperfect reality of right now. And thanks for cueing to the book that, I chose to be here. I might have chosen months ago to purchase the plane ticket to fly here to be with you today, but I also made series of other choices to choose to be able to be here. The present is not fully within my control, but if I'm honest, most of who I am and most of my circumstances are a result of me having chosen this moment and having chosen to be here. And the more honest I can be about that, then I'm actually able to be a better owner of the present, and I'm able to choose better. Because if I think my meetings are happening to me, my kids are happening to me, my schedule's happening to me, all of a sudden I'm a victim. But if I realize I picked this, I chose these friends, I chose this vacation, I chose this calendar, I chose this wife, then I get to decide what I'm going to choose in the future and how I'm going to participate and show up in that future.
Because the grass is always greener where we water it. That's not my quote. That's not your quote. It's been said for generations. But the reality is we tend to think the grass is greener somewhere else. You just said it. But the grass is greener in the present with people. And you and I talk about this all the time, Bo, but it's true. There is nothing more significant than human relationships and our connection to people. And the best gift that we can give every single person we're sitting across from is to be fully present in their presence. And as that happens, and in those moments, it's where human connection is experienced. It's where we feel most alive. And it's the greatest gift to the person across from us. But honestly, it's the greatest gift to me because it keeps me here. It keeps me grateful. It keeps me engaged with that which is most matters and is eternal, which is the human spirit. Everything else I do, apart from human beings, is temporary. It's temporal. But the fact that I even now get to sit here with you in this space, in this place, having this conversation, it is the most significant thing that I can be doing in this moment, being with people.
I would go a step further to say it's the only thing that you can be doing. That's the only thing that we really have to be able to give. Anyway, you can't give me the future, right? You can give me just right now, this moment. So let's talk about some of the things. We've talked about why it's so hard. I wonder if we also talk about some of the things that get in the way and some of the choices that we can make that help us be more fully present. And there's so many, but I wonder if we each picked a couple that we would say help us be able to be more fully present.
I know for me, it is designing my week. It's designing my day. It's not just letting time happen to me. It's actually scheduling my priorities. And a lot of times those priorities are going to be people, and they're going to be things that most matter. And so that helps me be present because I'm not always wondering, like, what else am I missing? I'm flying by the seat of my pants. Did I remember to do this? And here's a task list that I'm trying to get through, but I can actually be more fully present when I'm proactive with my schedule. 168 hours a week. That's what every human being on the planet is given for that week, and how we choose to invest it or spend it is our choice. If I can proactively, for me, it's on Sundays, think about my week in detail. When I step into my week, I feel very present. That's one. How about you?
Well, the first one that comes to mind, it comes from a quote my friend Joey Odom said. Thank you, Joey, which is, I'm going to put my phone in its place. because I have a codependent relationship with my phone that follows me around and pings me when I don't spend enough attention or time with it. It always has people. It's too many people have its number, and so my phone needs to go in its place, which is as simple as keeping phone chargers out of my bedroom. And as much as I can, having my phone out of my back pocket, and as much as possible, keeping it in my backpack during meetings, because I'm very bad at being fully present. I want to remove the thing that's most likely to distract me, which number one is my phone. And then there's some simple practices that can happen for me. But the other thing, like my phone, that can rattle in my head is the ways that people have wronged me. And I don't know if this is true for you, but my phone is upstairs right now, but my bitterness walked with me down these stairs about the places that I've been misunderstood or hurt or neglected, or I'm not being given credit for things. And those things I carry with me into every meeting, even if I'm the last person to know, and every conversation at dinner is they're still lingering. There's still the cloud of dust in the back of my mind. And so it's going to sound like a total right-hand turn, but another way to be able to be fully present is to choose to let those things go. And a word for that would be forgiveness, is to just decide I'm not going to let the things that have happened in the past hold me hostage in the future. And by regularly practicing saying, I no longer I'm going to hold them hostage, and therefore it's no longer going to hold me hostage, helps me be more free and more present in this moment.
Mm-hmm. So you're talking about mental clutter. You obviously unforgiveness and grudge holding is some of the mental clutter, but there's so many things that begin to clutter our minds. And I think to be able to train your minds and to train my mind and your mind and as part of the strategy in being fully present is to not allow thoughts to run around in the apartment of our brains, unfiltered, unquestioned, unchallenged, but to really take those thoughts captive and actually decide what thoughts get to stay and what thoughts simply I'm not thinking about that anymore. That's another strategy. That's probably a bigger conversation for another episode of 3 Words Podcast, or maybe another book that we'll write here in the future. But I think another thing that really helps me be fully present is when I am walking or experiencing or about to step into the presence of another human being. I'm reminded that this human being is infinite. So because I believe in an afterlife, I know for a fact that in these few moments with this human being, I want to know their name. I'm going to look in their eyes. I want to be mindful of the fact that this conversation will literally ripple billions and trillions of years into the future. That forces me, every human encounter forces me to go, okay, this is the most significant thing I can do. And I'm going to be present with this person.
Yeah, and to take that just another step, somebody recently asked me, if God, I believe God created the universe and knows me and knows you, were to introduce me to somebody else, what would he say about you? And they said this thing that really stuck with me, which is, this is Bo, my friend. I really like him. You're going to like him. That when I think about the person who was our waiter tonight at dinner or the flight attendant on my flight here, that they are likable, that there is something to delight in every person. And for that reason, people are worth being present with. And I want to be more and more the sort of person that sees people and sees people the way I believe that their Heavenly Father sees them, but sees them like a lost friend would see them. And it's something I'm not terribly good at, that I want to get better at. And I'm excited to have this conversation today and hopefully many more conversations with future readers and listeners of this to learn together how to be more present with each other.
For sure. If I could make one more final comment too, Bo, is this idea that I think you and I both agree, as we get toward the end of our lives, most people think, man, that went so fast. Life is so short, but it's also significant and sacred. 168 hours a week, only a few years in this existence that we have on this planet. Why would I not want to be present in these few days, these few years that I'm given? And so I think just understanding the brevity of life and the sacredness of life, as well as the significance of people,
Yeah.
the preciousness of people, it will, I think, really help us and obviously our readers of the book, as well as the listener of this podcast, to think, man, what do I need to do? And how can I practice? Because it is a practice, right? Being fully present. So, Bo, thanks for being in the studio today. Thanks for flying from Salt Lake City to be here with me. And it's always a joy being in a friendship with you, but also in great dynamic conversations with you.
Thanks, Michael. Hey, thanks so much for joining us for this conversation about being fully present. I'd love for you to get to engage in the conversation with Michael and I. Again, you can find this book on Amazon. We'll have that link in the show notes. And really, you can participate in this Essential Conversation series. We want you to be able to join us in diving into and exploring these topics that matter to us. The book is super unique. It's super readable. In fact, we've designed it for you to be able to read it in an hour and apply it every day. Thanks so much.